Hi, everybody, and welcome to the new episode of the End of the Celts podcast. This is another segment to our special guest series, and I'm delighted to be joined by John Herron, a former Celtic player. How are you, John?
Yes, I'm all good, yeah. Just keeping
No
well.
problem. No worries. Well, thanks for coming on the show. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, that's no problem at all, yeah.
No worries. So we're just going to talk about your career today. So we'll crack on with the first thing I kind of want to talk about. Everyone who listens to the podcast knows I'm a big advocate for the youth academy, and I'm kind of pushing for more youth players to be given the chance at Celtic. So starting where you started with Celtic, obviously you were a young boy coming through. What age did you get signed for Celtic?
Actually, I actually went to sign. The funny story, one of the first teams that actually came into me was Rangers. And obviously, as you know, I'm from Coatbridge, so that wasn't going to go down well. So 6 months later, I ended up signing at Celtic when I was 8, just before I turned 8. So yeah, just 7, 8 I was there. So long time, yeah.
So you were saying that 8 years old for Celtic. How does that even happen? Is it like a school partnership going on, or did this come to like a?
No, it's mad because I didn't even play for a football team or anything. I was just playing in school, just kicking about as most wee boys do. And it was actually the janitor. The janitor said to my dad one day when my dad came up to do one of those to go and see your teachers and all, one of those things. And he came to my dad and says, "Listen, have you seen your boy and stuff? You need to really think about getting him on a football team." But I used to do loads of stuff. I used to do football, boxing. I even done taekwondo as well for a long time. And so I was just really liked everything. I was one of those wee boys that's probably just quite naturally gifted at most wee things without sounding too big-headed. You know what I mean? I was actually all right at most things. So I never even I didn't play for a boys' club or anything. And then obviously my dad's cousin at the time was playing for Albion Rovers, the first team. They're just like a small, I think they're Division 3 or Division 2 or something in Scotland. So his cousin got me involved with their team. It was under 10s, and I went there once, twice a night, and then I was there for 6 months, and that's when I ended up just getting. There was a few scouts coming, as I say. Rangers came and they invited me to Murray Park to go and play with sign with their youth team more or less. But obviously that gets squashed straight away. So then, as I said, a couple of months later, I didn't even think it was 6 months. A couple of months later, Celtic came, and yeah, it was big. To be fair, even I know at a young age, it was. People probably don't think that, but for a boy from Coatbridge, it's a big thing. So I went there, and from then on, as I said, they didn't have an age group. I was just about 8. They didn't have an age group, and I went and played a year or a year and a half, nearly 2 years above myself, because I didn't have an age group at the time. And as I said, there was a lot of people phoning, and even teams in England, lower teams, phoning about young boys because they were big on their academy as well at the time down there. About signing and so I ended up just signing there and playing I played with a year above myself for 2 years more or less because they didn't have an age group for myself. So I was lucky that way.
See, I'll go back to the way you say you're not very gifted. I tried jiu-jitsu for about 6 months. Oh, mate, didn't even make brown belt. I was shocking. But see, get on to like the likes of signing for Celtic when you're 8 years old and you're playing 2 years above yourself. Is that like what kind of contract is that? Is that like YTS? No, like the youth scheme they do, or is it just
not
basically
even YTS? Because YTS, I think the way obviously Scotland and England are different. England obviously they sign you on YTS and you've got a year to prove yourself more or less, and then you go into professional terms. When I was at Celtic, I've never signed a YTS. I only signed professional when I left school. So it wasn't even a YTS. It was just like you signed to their youth academy. They make a big thing of it and stuff. Like you go with your parents, you go into Celtic Park and stuff, and you're 8 years old. And I was 8. I didn't really know what was going on. Do you know what I mean? I knew it was Celtic because one of the big things for me was, as I say, come from Coatbridge. You don't have my mum and dad are separated as well, so I didn't have like I wouldn't say I wasn't fortunate, but I didn't have a lot of things. You know what I mean? Growing up, like my dad had to work 2-3 jobs to make sure I got a pair of boots or even like a tracksuit or something at Christmas. Do you know what I mean? So I didn't have a lot going at the time, like financially and stuff for my family. So the big thing for me was we used to go in and they used to give you the start of every year, like they used to give you 4 pairs of Celtic training kit, like shorts, t-shirt, jumpers, rain jackets. They gave you like 2-3 pairs of like running trainers. They gave you 1 pair of boots. They gave you like the big massive puffy jackets. They gave you so much. So for me, that was the whole thing when I first signed. It was like, oh my God, look at all this Celtic stuff I've been given. It was just crazy. That was what I can remember at the time. Like I've got pictures and stuff. Obviously, when I was 8, signing in at Celtic Park, myself, my dad, Tommy Burns and stuff. But I can't really remember that. But the only thing I can remember is like getting home and I had these 2 big massive bags and it was just full of Celtic stuff. And I'm thinking, oh my God, like I used to wait and ask for like a tracksuit from like January and used to get it at Christmas. Do you know what I mean? They didn't have much. But I've got like 4 or 5 tracksuits here and polo shirts. And I was like, what is a polo shirt? Do you know what I mean? So they gave you so much stuff. And that was 8 years of age. And then you get that every single year or 6 months. you get it at the start of the season, obviously, and then you get it at Christmas. If you like grow and get bigger, if you move age groups, you get. Do you know what I mean? So that was the big thing for me at a young age. I just loved getting all the kit and stuff because I obviously come from Coatbridge, as I say, I'm a massive Celtic fan, so that was the big point for me. That's the big thing I can remember anyway. But
You're
going
more
back, I didn't actually sign a contract, as you say. You go in and you sign to their youth team, and it's like Huddle, like the Huddle youth team or something. You sign the papers. I've still got all the papers. It's something that my dad's always kept every year, and it's only 1 year more or less you sign every year. So even from 8 years of age, I'm sure you're going to, but that's the pressure. You're at 8 years of age and you're like, I can't be the worst player here because if I'm bad for 3-4 months here, I'm getting released. Do you know what I mean? So that's the pressure again as well. Starting at 8 years of age, you continually just have to carry that with you, and that's just the way it is.
See as well, like talking about the pressure of Celtic. I heard a thing just recently. So, see when you sign in early age, did they stop you from like playing in the streets with your mates, or is that just like a myth? Because
they don't stop you playing. Like I used to every day after school. Like when I was 8 years of age, I used to train 3 times a week. 8 years of age, 3 times a week, and then you do your game, so you're 4 times a week. So it was hard for me. Never mind my parents to try to get me. As I said, mum and dad were separated. I lived with my dad, so my dad used to have to work 2-3 jobs just to get by. But then they also had the strain of having to get me to training, and I'm from Coatbridge, and it's like maybe 45 minutes from Glasgow. So at the time it was Barrowfield. Lennoxtown wasn't there, obviously. So it was Barrowfield. So my dad used to work on the buses. So I actually used to go to school. My granny lived at the top of the hill where the school was. I used to run there. My dad used to leave my training stuff there the night before. She used to give me dinner. I used to run down the hill, big massive hill. I always remember it, run down it. And my dad used to drive the buses from Coatbridge to Glasgow. 262, the big number it was. I'll never forget. And my dad used to drive them, and he used to wait. My dad used to have to wait at the bus stop for like 6 minutes just so he could wait till I jumped on the bus. And he used to go into Glasgow, and the bus station was right behind Barrowfield. So he used to just go there, and then it got to a stage when always the same people were on the same bus at the same time. So they also knew, we're waiting here, John's son's coming. And then he used to take my detour for 6 minutes, take them a detour and drop me at Barrowfield because it's obviously people that's been around there. It's a wee bit dodgy around there and rough. So my dad used to say, I'm not having you walk through that park around there. So he used to take me and drop me straight at Barrowfield every single day. People on the bus loved it, mind you, but it was just people have to go just to make sure their kids or whatever get it. Do you know what I mean? So
you're 100% right. See, when you mentioned the big hill, I just had visions. You run down the big hill, the bus was coming, and you had to jump in while it was moving. I don't know why.
I didn't even. That's what I'm saying. I didn't even get the opportunity. Obviously, in the summer and stuff, when you were off, you used to go over. Used to, like every other boy, I'm sure, take a football, kick it over the fence, jump over the fence, and go into the pitch because the pitches were locked. But as I said before, I used to do boxing, used to do taekwondo, and I could do them. I used to do taekwondo 1 day a week, so it was fine. Juggling it around because it was actually worked out because the taekwondo was the day I didn't go to football training. But then when I was actually, it was starting to get really serious, like maybe under 14s, 15s. Taekwondo was getting serious as well. I actually was a black belt and stuff. I was going from like my dans at the time, first dance, and then they told me I had to pick between that or taekwondo. So obviously I had to drop taekwondo. Then obviously boxing got serious, and a few of my mates ended up turning professional boxers and stuff. Like used to spar and stuff with Ricky Burns and go to the same bar and stuff as him. So they obviously they're a lot older than me, but that's how I used to do it with. So obviously I had to scrap all that as well and just fully focus on the football, which obviously turned out all right. So
what was it always football for you, or were they hard choices? Especially when you're doing well every other sport you're competing at.
No, it was always easy because always listen. There's no point in beating around the bush. Everyone used to taekwondo was never going to pay bills. You know what I mean, or help my dad, or do you know what I mean? Boxing, yes, but like I only as people know from the area that I'm from, you only do that to be able to look after yourself, and if anything goes wrong in the street, to be able to protect yourself. And it's the main reason why I done it. It's the main reason why my dad and my mum to a certain degree as well put me through the taekwondo and boxing because they just wanted to make sure if anything went wrong and I was in the position that I could not handle myself, but I was kind of handle myself, but at the same time look after myself, and if I was in it with anyone else. So that was the main reason. And as I said before at the start of the show, anything I took up, I just kind of fell in love with and just kept doing it. I was never one of those people just to do something and then just bin it off. Do you know what I mean? Like even badminton and stuff in school, used to do badminton and ended up going to badminton classes after school. And I used to just do anything because it was free. Do you know what I mean? So it was like, would I do? Just go home and sit in the house, or if you had to pay for it, it'd be different because I didn't have, as I say, I didn't have the financial means or anything to do that, and that's just the way it was. There's no point beating around the bush. That's just the way it was. You know what I mean? So it was handy enough for me that that I could
think
do all
it's
those and it didn't cost me
yeah.
anything. So
I think it's a choice as well. John. You either keep yourself occupied, or as you said, you fall into the trouble and you have to
yeah,
protect yourself
exactly.
in the street. Do you know what I
Especially
mean? So
around that time as well, like I don't want to keep saying it, but around that time where I was from, like the gangs were really big. And a few of my mates that I grew up with and whatever, a few of them are in jail.
yeah,
Some of them are, one or two of them are still now in jail, one or two of them is gone. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it's drugs, gangs, fighting, getting mixed up in the wrong crowds. As I say, there's not a lot of people who at that time had something that I had the opportunity and kept them off the streets. And at the end of the day, that's what my dad was looking at, getting me off the streets and giving me
yeah,
something to keep myself fit and occupied, as you say as well. So it was good, and it's as much as I say I didn't have the financial backings of the best upbringing. I had such a good upbringing, as in always was doing something. The people looking after me, my best wishes at heart. So it's something that I would never change.
yeah. No, 100%. I mean, it's as you said, it's either that life or you keep your head straight and stuff. But speaking about the progress for the youth, you said there at the start you were playing 2 years above when you first went in. When
Yeah.
did you when did you start to think to yourself, Jesus, this is proper like squeaky bum time. If I'm not performing, I'm out. I know you said it when you were 8, but when you start progressing through the ages, does it get more and more intense?
Yeah. At eight, you don't really. It's only now thinking back that you think, oh Jesus, like, I can remember these wee things or these wee things. Like at the end of every year, we used to have a meeting with everyone, and you used to go through. I used to have a meeting with the whole team and all the academies and stuff. Used to take you to Celtic Park, this huge room, and it was like you have your different categories. So it'd be like under eights, nines, tens, 11s would be called like the junior academy, and then it'd be like under 12s, 13s, 14s, 15s would be called like amateur or something, and then from 17s and 19s would be like professional, really, not 19s because they were full time. So we used to have these big meetings, and then obviously it would be like, right, your kid needs to do this. It's football's not just about it. Football, you have to be eating this, right? You have to consuming this. You can't be doing this, blah blah blah. But then you used to go in like team meetings with your managers, sit down like myself, my dad, and my manager, and he used to have like a score sheet, and it'd be like passing, right foot, left foot. It'd be 0 to 5, 0 being terrible, 5 being excellent. Do you know what I mean? Nobody was ever a
Yeah,
0, but they used to be harsh with you straight then. Like, you need to be good at this, you need to be good at that. You need to get better at this, you're good at this, but you can still improve, or you're not very good at this, you need to improve on it. Do you know what I mean? So, and at the end of every year, you should do that. But then there'd be kids coming out crying their eyes out, and they've just been released. I was fortunate enough that I went into those meetings that always came out with like a good attitude. Or I'm not saying I always used to come out with fives, everything, but I'm just saying they used to always say, "You're good at this, yes, you can improve, but we're giving you an odd contract. We want to give you an odd contract," and it was always consistently giving me an odd contract. So I was fortunate enough. But it was kids. Listen, obviously the biggest one at the time was Andy Robertson. He was in my age group. He used to come out and they released him. Went in his age group. Went in. The manager says, "Listen, you're not good enough. You're too small. You're not strong enough. You're not fast enough. You're not good enough on the ball." And now I'm playing in Ireland and he's won the Champions League. You know what I mean? It's someone that I still stay close with. But it's just a difference. It's just, as I say, at that point, he wasn't good enough, and they just told him straight as a 14-year-old boy. But probably in any other bit of life, then you'd be like, "It's only 14. Come on, give him a break." But that's, football's ruthless, and that's just the way it is. And as I said, you don't probably think it at the time, but looking back on it, it's something that is definitely. But as you say, probably the main point to get to, well, when you really, really understand it is when you're really going for that contract when you're like maybe under 14s, under 15s, because obviously you want to leave school at 16, 17. So, well, you can only leave school at 17, but I left at 16 for, well, just before I was 17. I used to go in 2 or 3 times a week and be at school the other 2 days because I was at a school that allowed me to do that. But yeah, from maybe under 15s, that's when you have like, right, I'm here, I'm at this big club, and this is that's when you look at it as in, like, I've got a right good chance here. Because at 8 years of
yeah.
old,
I mean,
they're teaching you stuff, and it's not about winning and stuff. But then even in the under 15s and there's no 16s, obviously 15s and 17s. It's not so much about winning. Yes, you still want to win, but it's about bringing you on and making you a better player. Do you know what I mean? So, but there is massive pressure of winning, as I say. But it's probably when you get to under 15s, when under 15s you're 14 years of age, and that's when you've got to look at it. Because I can always remember they used to always sit us down at Barrowfield and used to see Celtic Park in the distance and the lights was on, and they were like, "How many of you are going to play over there?" And it used to send you goosebumps. Like, even just now talking about it, I can remember it, and it still sends you goosebumps. But it's crazy. But as I said, for a 14-year-old to have that pressure and mindset of, Jesus, I need to give everything up in my whole life, and just try and be this and that. That's exactly what I've done.
Is that, see that type of pressure as well, especially when you reach the 14s and 15s? Is that something? Obviously, you mentioned Andy Robertson, and they made a mistake there. Everyone can see that, and even going way back to Shay Given and stuff. But see that pressure when you're feeling that. Is that something that you thrived in? That sort of environment where you're having to prove yourself every year or every day, really, to stay at a club like Celtic?
I think I did. Yeah, I think you're totally right. It's one of those ones where you've got even nowadays. Even now I'm at Larn, like you've got 20, like I'm 26 now, you know, I'm 27 now, and you've still got 27, 28, even 30-year-old men who games where you're no pressure on you, it's easy to perform, but games when there's big pressure on you, it's hard, and you've got that person who you can be the best player, you can be one of the best players, but if you can't perform under pressure, then do you know what I mean? That's the difference between the best and probably the greatest, do you know what I mean? And as you say, yeah, it probably did set us. I was fortunate enough that we had a age group. My age group was blessed with a lot of talent, and I was fortunate enough that I was one of those people in that group who was obviously put in that category. But I had good players around me, and obviously maybe it would be harder or different if I didn't have as talented a age group. But we used to thrive on it. We used to go away. We used to go to like all these big tournaments abroad, and we used to get invited to all the best ones. And we used to like compete against your Barcelona's, Real Madrid's, Bayern Munich's, and at the time like Anderlecht and stuff. They were always known for being the best youth academies, and we used to go into those games with no pressure and with pressure obviously, but not feeling it, and with the attitude of listen, we can go toe to toe to these, and just say it can take you one way or it can take you the other way, but that is what it is. Yeah, we done well, especially during the academies. I think we done well to get to the first team. Then when you're at the first team, it's completely different. So
Yeah, I mean, see as well. But actually, glad you brought it up. I actually spoke to Patrick Manelli about this. I'm interested as well. See the tournaments that you go to on the raised level. Is that still some sort of like not a trial, but it's like the coaches are watching to see if you can cope with this certain level to progress you through to the first team? Is that like a step that they need to see as well, seeing you compete against foreign clubs?
yeah, massive. Because as I say, we used to always. It's mad as you say that. Just remember that there. Just when you said that about that, we used to always see those big meetings that I was telling you about at the end of every
Yeah,
year. We used to get a big, massive booklet, and it was all Tommy Burns was massive on it. And Tommy Burns is like he used to always have something at the top, and it was always like it's easy. And Jock Steen's signs was always in it, and it was like it's easy competing in these leagues. It's we don't play. We don't need what was it again? It was something like we don't need SPL players. We need Champions League players or something like that. I
yeah,
can't remember the exact saying, but it was something like that. And as you say, like hard bit as well is because everyone wanted to go on these trips, but you're not allowed to take. I think maybe 16 or 18 players. Like, it wasn't 11 a side at the time. Obviously, when you got older, it was 11 a side. But you're only allowed to take like 16, 18 players. So sometimes you had 3, 4, 5 players staying at home. So for me, my whole mentality was, right, there's 4 midfielders. There's only maybe 2 or 3. There's 2 playing, or there's only 3. I am not missing out, and that's just the way it was.
yeah.
Because there used to be players who trained every day and played all the tournaments and the games at home and stuff, but then didn't go to these big tournaments. And so you're right, it's not until you actually take a step back and think about it. But yeah, it's massive. It sets you up in life, even outside football as well, to handle all those pressures. So
See as well, John. You mentioned Tommy Burns there, and obviously he's a legend within Celtic and the Celtic fans as
yeah,
well. Did you have many dealings with him as a young player,
yeah.
or what was he
No,
like?
he was massive for me. I was really close. I was actually at his funeral. I was really close to him. As I say, like coming from the upbringing that I came from and stuff, and my single parent, he helped me a lot. He helped me financially. He helped my dad financially. Obviously, we ran into full-time football. He helped me financially. He done so much stuff for me. When I signed, actually, obviously when I was 8 years of age, as I said before, there was a few clubs and there was a few wee clubs. At the time, Blackburn Rovers were a big club who were always trying to take young Scottish players away from Scotland at the time. And Aston Villa, I think they took Barry Bannon's from a bit as well. He left when he was like 9, 10 years of
Harry
age.
Bannon, yeah.
Go down to Aston Villa. And there was loads of players. So they were coming up to Scotland trying to poach people, like really young, and move their whole family down. So a few of them were coming about, and Tommy actually came to my house. Tommy Burns and John McStay, Paul McStay's dad.
Yeah, yeah.
They were the two that scouted me, and a man called Hughie McGovern, who's actually still there, who was really close to. He's one of the kit men. They 3 scouted me, and the 3 of them came to my house. And for me to sign, it was madness because where I live is like just a normal street. and this big massive car, 2 cars pulled up. And I can remember hearing. It came from nowhere. Like I didn't know it was coming, and then the door went, and it was one of those big police knocks. And I was thinking, Jesus. And it was just me and my dad. I can remember we were having dinner, and I was like, my dad looked at me, and I was like, have I done something wrong? Like that sounds like the police. Like something's definitely wrong. My dad went and opened the door, and I can always remember because the house was messy, and he opened the door, and it was Tommy Burns, John McStay, and Hughie McGovern. And as I say, Hughie McGovern had been to loads of the matches. Obviously, I knew, so he'd been in contact with my dad. So he'd been saying to my dad, like, we're Celtic, I represent Celtic, we're really interested in your boy, I'm going to keep coming and watching you. So he came for a long time, so he was in contact with my dad. So, but it was a surprise, and then when he opened the door, my dad obviously seen Hughie, and then he came in, and my dad says, give me 2 minutes. Closed the door, left him at the front door, and like quickly tidied up the living room, and then brought them in. So it was myself, my dad. I can remember even just now. I used to always talk about it with Tommy as well, because in Celtic Park we used to have this, like, have you ever been to, like, seen the gym? You get those stair walks and you can walk up the stairs and it's an exercise. Tommy used to always just sit on them. He used to always just sit on that and exercise and whistle his song and stuff that he used to always sing. And I always just remember, we used to always talk about it still when I was in the gym. Like, he just sat there and like Hughie was talking or John McStay was talking and Tommy wasn't saying it. I was just sitting there with my mouth open, just looking at Tommy thinking, wow, he's in my house. Like crazy. So that was the first year I had with him. So he came to my house and he was like, you're not going anywhere. He didn't even ask me. He's just like, we know blah, 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 whatever clubs. He's like, you're not going anywhere, you're coming to Celtic. And I was like, perfect. Shook his hand. And from then on, I remember going to school and all being like, oh my God, Tommy Burns is my house. And when it seemed they walked out the house, like obviously he came in these nice big cars. So neighbours and all at the window going, what the hell's that? Who's that? In these big cars. And they obviously seen him. And then obviously knew he was in my house. He walked out the house, there was like maybe 30 people standing outside. It was crazy. It was madness.
That's mad. Like,
that was the first deal I had with him. But then just before, maybe I was like, I think I was 15 or 14. I was 14 or 15. In fact, I was 15 definitely, yeah. And I get called up to play with the year above myself, Scotland age. I'd done really well, met me on the Victory Shield and all.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
So I played in that with a year above myself. And I didn't play the first game for them. And I played the next 2, and we didn't win the tournament or whatever, but I done really well. And there was a few big English teams coming, like Newcastle and whatever. They were coming, and again, they came to my house, and I was actually thinking about it with Newcastle. I was like, it's going to be hard to be involved. Like at this time, I was getting a wee bit more mature, and I was known, and I was speaking to some of the older players, and the older players, there was some good players in the older team, and they weren't getting offered contracts. And I was just looking at them going, they're not getting contract. How hard's it going to be? And I was looking at players a couple of years above myself going, oh, am I good enough to compete with him? Do you know what I mean? So I was always constantly looking above myself saying, right, I need to catch him. How am I going to get better to catch him? I can catch him, right, I'll get the next one. I was always like that at a young age. So I was starting to, not doubt myself, but I was starting to think, like, do I need to take a step away to come back? Because my whole main thing growing up was to make my debut for Celtic. Like, I'd have given you my left arm, or do you know what I mean, to go and make my debut. So that was my whole thing. So I was really close to joining Newcastle, went down and stuff with my family, and then again he came to my house saying someone from Newcastle's phoned me saying you were down at the academy. He's like, were you? And I was just like, yeah. And he's like, obviously you can't sign a professional contract, but I can guarantee you, even if you have the worst 2 years of your footballing career for the next 2 years, like, I'm giving you a professional contract. And see, when he said that and stuff, it just, and then he obviously helped my dad with certain things at the time. Yeah. And then from then on, I was like, nah, like, I was just tunnel vision about, like, at that age, I felt as if I kind of owed him something, even though I didn't. But it was just that whole mentality, and that's the type of person he was. He would go out his way, and, like, people probably think, oh, it's Tommy Burns or whatever, but it was just like that the whole time. Like, yeah. He would stay in Celtic Park till 7 o'clock at night and be driving home and be like outside the street, and someone would have a problem. He'd turn around and come back. Do you know what I mean? It's just the way he was. He was unbelievable and unbelievable person. But yeah, I had loads of dealings with him. Even when I signed my first professional contract, I walked outside and he was there and he gave me a hug and he was like, "Told you so." So there was so much times I was with him, spent a lot of time with him personally, alone, and in at football and outside football. So it was massive.
It's just a testament as well, isn't it, John, the character of Tommy Burns. That he lived and breathed Celtic Football Club. And see as well, see what's kind of funny? It's the main tricks he plays with you. Like that comment he said to you, being like, the 2 years of if you play the worst 2 years of
Yeah.
football, you're still going to get the contract. You're thinking to
Yeah.
yourself,
It's massive. It's crazy. As I say, he's one of those people as well that he's just straight up. He comes from the same situation as where I come from.
see, in terms of the pro contract, obviously Tommy Burns helped you a lot along your journey. What
Yeah.
what was that? What was that fight like, and how did you keep yourself motivated and not kind of fall to the pressure side of things when you're competing for a pro contract?
I say I don't want to sound as if I'm up myself right now a wee bit, but at the time I was doing well, and see when you're doing well, you know when you're doing well at Celtic because like they make a hype about you, and I had that hype about me. Do you know what I mean? Even at a young age, it's just the way it is. I'm sure if you spoke to Paddy would have told you the same thing. But it was like I was playing well for my age group. I was playing for the older age group. I was playing well. I was starting for the older age group, and then I was going away for Scotland with my age group and the year above. So, without sounding too up myself, I kind of expected it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I expected it not because people were telling me, "Oh, John, you're going to do this," or "John, you're going to do that." I was expecting it because, as I say, if you do something well, you know you're doing it well. If you do something wrong, I'm the type of person also. I know when I'm doing something wrong. Do you know what I mean? I know when I need to get better at something, and I know when I've performed at a good level. So
yeah,
I kind of knew I was doing well. So it was just about keeping that consistency because I can always remember, speaking to older players or speaking to ex-players, and I used to be one of those people. If I was around someone, I used to ask. I was very quiet, but I used to read people. And I used to always ask them and try and squeeze so much out of them and ask what I needed to do, or especially when I was with coaches, on the 1v1 or something. I used to always ask at that time when I was a young boy. As I said, my whole thing was I wanted to play for Celtic. It was my dream. So I was given a great opportunity, and people were telling me I had a great opportunity. So it was like, right, if I play for Celtic, I'll be able to help my dad. Do you know what I mean? I was looking at everything when I was 14, 15 years of age. I was thinking, how can I help my dad? How can I help my gran? Blah, blah, blah. I've got two sisters. How can I help all this? So at a young age, I had that whole mindset and tunnel vision of like, if I do well here, it's not just helping me, it's helping everyone else. Because as I said, I knew my dad was working 2, 3 jobs just to make sure we got by and just to make sure that I could get to training. Do you know what I mean? And there's so much more people that even when I made my debut, that was the biggest thing. Like even when I was my first thought going on the pitch when I was making my debut was like, my dad's done all this for a reason. Do you know what I mean? Like that was my whole thing. It wasn't just about myself. I've never been someone who's just about myself. So it was all about everyone else, and it was just like a relief off my shoulders. As in, they're going to think now they've done it all for a reason, rather than if I'd never wanted to disappoint anyone. Do you know what I mean? And that's if I didn't do that, then it
yeah,
was something that I felt as if I disappointed people. As in, they put so much out there to make sure that I got there. Because listen, there was times when I was close make my debut when I was younger. There was times when even throughout that year when I was making my debut, like there was times when I get told I was making my debut and I'd get injured or something would go wrong or do you know what I mean? And I always can remember always thinking this is never going to happen. And then the players I had around me at the time when I made my debut, I was just thinking I'm never going to play ahead of these guys. Do you know what I mean? So it was kind of that, and I knew Tommy Burns used to always. I want to go back to him, but he used to always say to me every day. Most days I used to speak to him because he used to always be at the training ground. He's like, John, the thing for you is going to be it's going to be easy for you to get to the first team, but it's going to be hard to stay there because of the position you play in. And I always
yeah,
remember that, even to this day, I always still use that whole thing. It's going to be easy to get there or easy to get to where you want to be, but it's so hard to stay there. And that's with if you want to go and win a cup, if you want to go and win a league. Like for us this year at Larne, do you know what I mean? It was not easy for us, but we got there, and the hard bit's staying there, and that's where I believe where you get your better players, as in going back to the playing under pressure. If you're top of the league, you're under pressure to go to away from home to a 1 point, away from home to a Dungannon, having to win. Do you know what I mean? It's easy to play it.
yeah,
Linfield at home, Linfield away from home, because it's big clubs. It's easy to play that. Yes, there's pressure
yeah,
on you, but there's more pressure on you against the smaller teams. Do you know what I mean? So it's that whole mindset of like, I'm going to get there. I believed in myself. I was very quiet and a shy person. I'm still now not a loud person. Do you know what I mean? I'm still very much within myself, and it's something that I believe hampered me when I went to the first team because I wasn't really an overconfident person. Do you know what I mean? So, but
yeah.
the whole professional contract thing, I kind of, without sounding, as I say, up myself, I kind of knew it was coming. Do you know what I mean? So I was performing well, and as I said, when you're performing well at your club and then your international level, I expected that a wee bit. So
It's I wouldn't say it's you sound up yourself. I think it's more of the confidence and mentality side of things that we touched upon. So the pressure, obviously, you're thriving under that, and you're looking who's in your position, and you're
Yeah.
always wanting to be better or match them at least. See, when you got that pro contract, is that when things really started to take off, like the progress to the first team training? How long was that when you got your pro contract? Was that like a couple of years down the line still, or was it pretty instantaneous, pretty quick?
No, it was really quick because when I signed my pro contract, Tony Mowbray was the manager, and Neil Lennon. But this is when I left school, so I actually signed a pro contract when I was at school, but I wasn't allowed to receive any money like wages, and I wasn't allowed
Yeah,
to leave school until you got to a certain point. But that's what I was saying to you earlier. I used to leave school 3 times a week, twice, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Yeah, 3 times a week. No, I used to go to school 3 times a week and leave and go into training at Celtic 2 days a week. I was going to Celtic every Tuesday and Thursday. I went to school Monday, Wednesday, Friday, for like 6 months because my school teacher was like, they knew I had as I said, that there was that at the time, there was a lot of, I was playing at a national level. I'd actually been put out of school to go and play pre-season friendlies with the first team. So there was that kind of hype going around. Do you know what I mean? So my school were excellent. My guidance teacher and stuff used to allow me to leave twice a week. I only used to go to school 3 times a week. So for me, as I say, a young boy, it was living the dream at still being at school and doing what I had to do. But yeah, and then I left school when I could leave. And then I went in there, and as I said, Tony Mowbray was the first team manager. And I wasn't about the first team at the time. Lennoxtown was made here, and we were still at
yeah,
Barrowfield. You go to Barrowfield first, all the boys that leave school, and then they kind of, not assess you because they know what they're like, but they kind of have an eye on you. Kind of how's they handling first team full time football because it's tough, rather than training at night times or you're training in the morning. You're getting your breakfast. You train in the morning. You go to the gym in the afternoon, Monday, Tuesday. You're off Wednesday. You do it Thursday. You do it Friday again, and you play Saturday. Do you know what I mean? So you're doing it every day. It's proper heavy. So they give you a wee bit to things. So I was there for maybe, I want to say a month, and then I was doing well again. I was only left when I was 17. I started playing for under 20s within a month. I was doing really well at the time. And then I think maybe I played maybe 2 or 3 games. I think I maybe played 3 or 4 games for the under 20s. And at the time, Neil Lennon was the reserve manager, as I say, and he came down and I can always remember played Dundee at Barrowfield, the bottom pitch it was, and I had a stop. Everything I'd done was just. So you just get one of those games where everything you touch is just right. You take a good like anything, everything ricochets, everything just goes for you. And I played really well, and I always remember it was like 60 minutes in or something, and then I always remember hearing a whistle, and then 2 minutes later the board went up for a substitution, and the manager went, "John, you're coming off," and I was like, I wasn't raging because I was only a young boy, but I was walking
yeah.
off thinking, what have I done? I've had a good game here, what's going on? And then he's not said anything to me, and I've went to sit down on the bench, and he's just went, John came here, and he's went over and he said, reserve manager Neil Lennon's told me to take you off, you're going away tomorrow with the reserves. We were going away to play Blackburn down in Blackburn to reserves, and I went down and I think I played 10 minutes. And then, listen, 10 minutes you can't really do anything, or whatever, you can't do anything right, but you obviously can't do anything wrong, which was good for me. So I was like, no problem. And then we were off. He gave us the weekend off, and then I got a phone call on Sunday night saying, "Listen, you have to go to Lennoxtown and train with the reserves." And then from then on, I was with the reserves every day, more or less.
See as well, touching upon the training. So see before we go to the Lady Annan side of things. So you got your pro contract, and obviously you're up the under 20s and you're training with them. What
Yeah.
what was the step up from what you were used to there? Was it just crazy the way they were playing, or was it just kind of you took it in your stride?
Not so much because like the whole thing with Celtic was like really on the first team. Celtic done a good thing as in like if you're on the first team or if you're reserves or under 20s. I even think they might have done it under 17s as well. If the first team played a 4-2-3-1, you all play the 4-2-3-1. If they play a certain philosophy of football, you all play it because they want to make sure that if it makes that step easier. Do you know what I mean? So even the training, the passing drills were the same, possession drills were the same. All the mini games were the same. Everything was the same. So all the drills were the same. It was just all about. It was the physicality. I was just a wee small skinny boy, so that was the biggest thing for me, the physical side. But I'm a naturally fit person, so I could always run all day. Do you know what I mean? And I've always been a technically good player, so that's been probably one of my gifts, one of my better attributes. I'm technically good. Do you know what I mean? So that
Yeah,
and my fitness was always good. So we used to. There was, as I said, there was a wee group of us. There was maybe 4 or 5 of us that were like heavily tipped to go and do do well. So all four, I think there's maybe 2 or 3 at the time, it just went straight into the under-20s team and done really well. And I've been playing with him since I was 10 years of age, you know what I mean? So it kind of makes it easier, makes that transition easier. And as I said, everything was the same. It was just that whole physical side and then learning how to use your body because you're not as strong as them, or all the wee things you learn when you're playing with older players, you know what I mean? All of the older players, even though they were only 19, 20 at the time, they helped me. And I learnt a lot from them, and even now to this day I try and still pass a lot on what I learnt, because it does help you a lot. But the transition was easy because the boys were really good, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, they weren't much better than our age group, if I'm being totally honest. Our age group, as I said, we won everything at our age group. And then when we went in under 20s, as I said, there was a core of maybe 4 or 5 years that went and got straight professional contracts straight away. It's usually 1 or 2 or whatever. Like the year above ourselves was the only ones that went in full time was Callum McGregor. He's the only one that went in full time, and then obviously Dylan McGee went to Rangers and he went in full time. So there's not usually that big, huge amount of numbers. Do you know what I mean? We'd 5, maybe even 6 players who went straight in full time from our age group. So we had a good core, and we were blessed with a lot of talent at our age. And I think 3 or 4 of us went straight into the under-20s, the team. So it was easy enough at the time to say, because we were good players. So
Yeah, so speaking about the players who you were coming through with, you mentioned like Cal McNair. He's the one who stands out, because he's played so many games for Celtic now. But who else were you coming through with at the time in your age group before you reached the under-20s?
Well, at the time, obviously, we were, as I said, we were doing really well at the club and international. And I always remember they had those things at Man United. It was like Busby Babes or whatever it was, or
Yeah.
whatever it was. They kind of made one of those stupid things up about us. I think there was 6 years. There was myself, the boy Joe Chalmers, Marcus Fraser, and don't know if you remember the boy Islam Farouz.
Yeah, Islam. Yeah.
Oh, he was incredible. And there was him. There was boy Paul George from Northern Ireland as well. He was unbelievable. Paul George, and I think that might be it. That might have been. Maybe I'm missing someone out, but I think predominantly it was us 5 who were, like, I was a centre mid. Joe Chalmers was a centre back, left back. Marcus was a centre back, right back. Paul George a winger. Islam striker. Do you know what I mean? So we were like the core of the team, more or less. We had a goalkeeper as well at the time, James Whiteman, who ended up getting released a year later because he was very small. But it was us 6 who were like doing really well and stuff. Do you know what I mean? So there was a core of us, like all the way through the middle, and we kind of there was a real glue there, and we were all friends. You know what I mean? We were all really close mates. We're all more or less from Glasgow, obviously, apart from Paul George. He was from Northern Ireland, but he used to come over. He used to come over all the time. Like, there's a story for you. In fact, we used to play games as a youth team, and you can only, I think, as a trialist, you can only play like 4 or 5 games in like a certain time. Like Big Paddy McNally came over on like a trial a few times. You can only play like 4 or 5 trial games a year. Paul George came over and he was unbelievable, honestly. So good. And it came over like 5 times in the space of like 3 months. And we had a big game against Rangers coming up, and you're thinking, we're all like, yeah, we need to get a winger over, that wee Irish guy. That's what we used to call him at the time, the wee Irish guy. But who's that wee Irish guy? Bring him over. It was brilliant. And they ended up, see that whole year, I think he played like 20 games for us. He was coming over and they were changing his name to like something else, just putting him through as somebody else. He was playing for us. It's brilliant, but Paul George was brilliant, so he was unbelievable. So that was the core. Callum McGregor was a year older, as I say. He's a winger. He was a winger. He wasn't a centre midfielder. He was a winger. Even under Ronnie Dyer, was a winger, but it was never. For me, I thought he was excellent. I thought he was really good as a young boy. But even under Neil Lennon's stuff in the first team, he was never really Neil Lennon's cup of tea. Like, he sent him out on loan and tried and get him at the time. It was Ronnie Dyer that really gave him his shot, and then obviously he grabbed it with 2 hands and still not letting it go. So fair play to him. He's a good guy as well.
What was, so like, you reached the under-20 side of things? What was Neil Lennon like for you when you were in the under-20s? Was he a motivator for you, or did he talk to you as well as a young player?
Well, it was kind of good because I grew up obviously with your team that got to Seville. Do you know what I mean? That was my Celtic team, like Neil Lennon, Paul Lambert, Lou Maracic, Henrik Larsson, Chris Sutton. Do you know what I mean? Like those type of players. So I looked up to him. So I loved him. So when I went to the reserves, it was unbelievable, because I was going to say, it was more like when he was reserves, it's kind of as if it's 2 different coaches. When he was at the reserves, as if like there's no pressure on him. Do you know what I mean? So he was kind of motivated, put his arm around you. He'd say, listen, because he knew I loved him, right? Because I used to ask him, like, see, remember I said we used to go on the buses to like away games. He used to come up with the boys and all and sit. I used to ask him all sorts of questions. So he knew. I obviously maybe thought I was a wee weirdo or something, but I used to ask him everything because he was same position as me. Obviously, different type of player, but same position. So I used to ask him all sorts. So he kind of after training stuff would, if I'd done something wrong, he'd be like, "Yeah, you need to do it this way." Or, and as I said, I was very slight at the time. I was tall but very thin. And he was like, "Oh, you need use your body, do this when you receive a ball, do this." Do you know what I mean? Take it on your left foot. He helped me a lot with my both feet as well. I worked a lot on my both feet. Something I always wanted to do, be able to hit the ball with my left and my right. So he helped me a lot with that. He helped me a lot with my running, as in when to attack the box, when not to attack the box. So he was really good with me. But then obviously when into first team, there's a different kettle of fish. He's a lot more under pressure. But when he was a reserve manager, he helped me a lot, as in helped me through the game, what I had to get better at. Put his arm around me even if he had a bad game or something. But as I say, he wasn't. Tony Mowbray was the manager, but he was only when I went up to reserves. He was only there for. I was only in reserves for 4 or 5 months, and then he got obviously Tony Mowbray gets sacked, and he went up into the first team straight away. So, and he hated Tony Mowbray. Him and Tony Mowbray hated each other. They didn't get on. So,
What
so
made
he
that
always
obvious?
just everything. He wasn't allowed. He was at the start. Obviously, him and Danny McGrain were the reserve managers. Another legend, Danny McGrain, but the most horrible toes you'll ever see, mind you, but a legend. But him and Danny McGrain were the reserve managers, and they used to always at the start go away. Obviously, it was Mowbray and the boy Mark Venus and Granty. So they used to always go, but then something happened between them, and Mowbray said to Lennon that he wasn't allowed to go around near the first team anymore. So he wasn't allowed. I think he used to travel on the bus or something with him, but then I always remember that saying that he wasn't allowed near them anymore, so he hated them. Like he wasn't even allowed to eat lunch at the same time as them, so he hated them. So, but then when he gets sacked, he went straight into the first team, and at the end of the day, he was like me a lot at reserves, and that's more or less why
Is,
I got taken straight up to the first
is,
team. So,
is that when you made the jump then the first time when Lenny got the job on a full time basis? Is that when you were kind of training with the first team
yeah,
regularly then?
when he first went up, obviously I didn't because I was still at reserves, and then that's when he first went up to the first team. It was kind of like there was no reserve manager, so he went up with the first team, and we used to have loads of like Finnish people like from Finland and Iceland and stuff, and then obviously just
Yeah.
Simon Ferries, your Martin Millers, and all those type of players, and in the reserves, and Paul McGowns and stuff. They used to kind of just train with the first team and then see all the young boys like myself and stuff. We kind of drifted between that and under 20s. There was only maybe 2 or 3 of us, me, Paul George, Marcus Fraser, or Joe Chalmers. We kind of drifted between that and then going back down to Barrowfield, do you know what I mean, for like maybe 6, 8 months till the end of the season. And then, so I didn't really, not that I didn't like it, but at the same time, I was loving like playing with better players, and because sometimes I was out of the water. Do you know what I mean? Like sometimes I wasn't good enough in training and stuff, and I liked that because it knew. Then I knew that I had something to aim to. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying it was too easy
Yeah.
down at under 20s or something, but I was one of the better players down there. Do you know what I mean? And I constantly wanted to be like tested, and at that time I loved being up there and that, and a lot of the players helped me. As I say, like Paul McGowan and stuff used to cry like a baby all the way through training, shout at you, just if you didn't pass in the ball. But it helped me so much. Do you know what I mean? And you go back down there, and it's, as I said, I started to work on myself a wee bit more, and I was going down there and I was feeling stronger. And do you know what I mean? So I was kind of getting to the fact that it wasn't really testing me as much. Albeit I
Yeah.
used to still play with my age group at the matches at the weekend, but that's when I felt as if it was testing me more. Do you know what I mean? But then when he got, I think, as I say, I think it was the end of the year when he was already in for 7 or 8 months. I think he took over for a while, didn't he? And then he got the job, and then that's when he brought in obviously the reserve. He made our manager down at under 20s with Stevie Frail and Tommy McIntyre. Then he moved Stevie Frail to be the reserve manager, and John Kennedy came in to be the reserve manager with him. And then he made our reserves in the first team, and then that's when, yeah, he moved most of the better players, as you'd like to say, up to the first team / reserves. And then you were there for 6 months, just floating in between them, and then that's when he more or less moved you over 6 months later to more or less train with the first team every day. So
See, when he got the job full time, were you involved
yeah.
with his first pre-season? Did you get called up to that, or was that still too early?
No, I was I done all the pre-season in Scotland with him, yeah, and then what has it happened? I had at this time we had the Euros with Scotland, so I didn't do the pre-season with the first team. I was away in the Euros, I believe. I'm sure we had a tournament with Scotland because when I came back, and yeah, it was because when I came back, I flew when we came home from Scotland to the Euros. Because when you qualify for if you qualify for the Euros, you do the European Championships, and if you qualify, which is hard, you go into the next stage. And we qualified because we had a good age group, and we went into the next stage, and it was over the summer. So we went and done that, and then when I came back, they were already in. I believe it was Austria. Oh no! When I came back, they'd been to America. That's what it was. I missed America. When I came back, and then that's when I came back. They came back from America a couple of days later, and obviously they got rid of a lot of players. Like, it sounds bad, but they got rid of a lot of the players for the reserves, and it was like your Simon Ferries, your Paul McGowans and stuff, and they were all centre midfielders. So I was thinking, Jesus, I'm having a chance here, even if I can just go and train with them every day. Do you know what I mean? So that's when that happened, and I had a really good tournament in the Euros as well. So that's what kind of helped me as well. I didn't go that pre-season tour, no, but I went a few other ones the next year in January. We used to always get one in January as well, see, because of the Champions League. The SPL used to allow you to cancel one fixture, so we used to always cancel it just after New Year, and it meant the way the games worked out in the holidays and stuff, we had like maybe just over 2 weeks, and it used to take us away all the time. So I got a few of those trips, so it was good. It was a good laugh as well. So.
You're thinking to yourself, all these chats with Neil Lennon's paid off. getting into the first team training.
As soon as he got the first team manager's job, I always remember saying to my dad, I've got a chance here. And what was actually my dad said to me? My dad said, John, you've got a chance here. And I was always thinking to myself, oh, maybe I do, do you know what I mean? But there was so many players. As I said, at the time there was Mark Crosas and stuff, do you know what I mean? And Ki Sung Young and stuff, and it was just incredible. And then obviously a lot of them went as well. And then when they all went, it was like, he's not a Yamas in that, mind you, but there wasn't as many actual individuals, so I was more involved. Do you know what I mean? So it was better, yeah. But there's no qualms. It was definitely him that really took in a liking to me, or he felt sorry for me that how bad I was or something. That he definitely, it was due to him that I was involved in the first team. Do you know what I mean? So I've got a lot to thank him for. And even just now, it's someone that I hold in great regard and still speak to if I ever need anything. He's one of the first people I'd send a message to. So.
In terms, see as well, the first time training when you're going up, obviously you're first going up there and you're probably a bit like, wow, this is unbelievable players and stuff. Do you remember a time that any first team player proper roasted you on the training ground for making a mistake or anything?
I can't remember being properly roasted. No, but there was a few big moaners. Like, and listen, as I say, like, I don't know if it's just because I was really young, and I can remember Neil Lennon properly stopping the training session, and shouting at me. In fact, I can remember that. I was only like maybe before I made my debut. We used to play this big possession game. It was in like one whole half, and he used to put these poles out. Have you seen the poles that they dig into the ground? Yes. So he used to like put 2 poles and obviously made a goal, right? So he used to put 5 of them out, so it would like take the half of the pitch, finky half of the pitch, right, and then see the 4 corners. He used to put 2 of those poles in each corner, but still within so we could pass it through and get to the other side, and then 2 in the middle. So it was like this big 5 pole game. We used to play 5 goal game in one half. It was possession. So like 3 teams of like say maybe 8 or 3 teams in 9 or something. And I can remember that. So that's what it was. So I think 2 teams keep the ball and 1 team chase, and you try and get as many passes or whatever it is, or goals. I can't remember the exact thing, but I can always remember like the method of the game more or less is keep the ball short, then get out when they all come in, switch it, and then obviously you get your pass again, and they all have to chase. You know what I mean? Create space. And I can always remember I got the ball once or twice. I remember I was building more and more confidence. I got the ball and it came to me and it came back, and I pinged it, my right foot caught it, went over, and somebody got in this thing. Perfect. So you run after the ball, like give me the ball again. I want to do it again. So I've done it again. So you get more and more confidence. And I go back to that. I always used to work on both feet, and it came back to me, and it was on my right foot to hit it. And I thought, stuff this. Like, I've just hit 2 nice passes. I'm going to chop and hit it with my left. So I've chopped it and I've tried to do it with my left, and it's just went flying out the pitch. And he's just stopped it. He's just blew his whistle. So there was him, Johan Mialbi, Alan Thompson was there at the time, is still, and Gary Parker was his wee fat assistant coach guy. So I remember chopping it, and I'm thinking, perfect, got away from the boy. So I'm just going to ping this with my left foot. I did not ping it. It was like one of those ones that you're like kicks off the floor and like ricochets. He didn't even allow it to go on. He just stood there. He always used to stand there with his hood up. Just stood there with his hood up. Just blew his whistle. And then everybody was like, oh no. He just walked on the pitch and he was just like, you! Pointed his finger. What the fuck do you think you're doing? Just play it with your right foot. Play it with your right foot. It was on. Play it with your right foot. And see, for the next 5 minutes, I hid behind every player. I did not want that ball. See when I was saying after I hit 1 or 2 passes, I was running about going, give me that ball. I was hiding. And he came to me after and he put his arm around me. He came here after me and he put his arm around me. I always remember he obviously used to wear this big puffy jacket and put his hood up. Put his arm around me and just went, you shit yourself there, wee man, didn't you? I was trying to drink my water and it was just coming out both sides of my mouth and all. I was like, oh my God. But no, he had that in him. Like, honestly. I seen him see with Effie Ambrose. Oh my God, how Effie Ambrose continued to Effie Ambrose, by the way, was unbelievable. So good. But Neil Lennon used to hammer him, like positionally, or like Effie Ambrose used to just get the ball and do stuff, and he'd find it so easy. Effie, and he'd be like, fuck this, man, I'm going to beat the whole team and score. So he'd go a dribble. He'd go a dribble from centre half and just bang, gut to striker, and then try and like chip it or Cruyff somebody, and he'd just blow that whistle again. Hood up, walking on the pitch, just with his hand out. Yeah! Honestly, so scary. Especially when Victor Wanyama came in as well. See Victor Wanyama when he first signed. I think Victor's only a year older than me, in fact. He used to come in and he was built like a shit brick house, right? And he was massive. And he was only like 19 or 18. And I'm thinking, look at the size of this guy. And he came in and he was also holding midfielder. And he's like, right, this is Victor, blah, blah, blah. And see his first couple of days, like, you're like, this guy's a machine, beast. But he used to get the ball and he could not pass the ball at the start. And Neil Lennon one day, he gave a ball and you could see Neil Lennon. Neil Lennon you've probably seen, he's always got this snooze in his mouth. So give the ball away so Neil Lennon clear his mouth out with snooze, throw it on the floor. So he wouldn't see anything first. 2-3 times later, blows that whistle again. Yeah! Up in his face. Remember, this guy's only here the first week. You give the ball away one more time, you're going down there to train the reserves. Victor probably can't even understand English at this point. He's like, yes. Do you know what I mean? Ball comes to him the next time. He opens out, tries to hit this massive diag, gives it away, just blows the whistle, doesn't even come on the pitch. See you later. Just shoves him. Doesn't he go inside? Unbelievable, honestly. Unbelievable. He had that in him, that's what I'm saying. Neil Lennon had that in him. But see, that I obviously don't know what happened with Victor after that day. He was training with his first team the next day, mind you. But he would go through you, or he would go mad. But then he would switch. He would just come over and cuddle you. Oh, come on into my office, blah, blah, blah. Like, he had that. He's one of those people you feared them. Like, see if you're walking up a corridor, and he's at one end, and you've just walked through the first door. You kid on, you forgot something and walked back. You wouldn't walk past him. He's so scary. But, like, you had so much respect for him, do you know what I mean? That's why there's so many... And that wasn't just me that done that, by the way. It's like, you had, like, Scott Brown, who played him and all. Like, they used to fear him. Charlie Mulgrew has played, like, fucking X amount of first team games at first team level and Scotland international caps, and do you know what I mean? Like, they used to all be the same. Madness. But he had that in him. Like, I've seen him flip loads of times. What's
the worst? What's the worst one you've seen?
We were playing. I'm trying to think. I want to say Kilmarnock at Celtic Park, but I don't know if it was. I was on the bench. I was on the bench. I came in and no, it was end of the match. That's what it was. I think we just got beat off Kilmarnock at Celtic Park, and I don't know. You obviously won't know, but see, at the end of every match, there used to be like a big table put into the home team changing room to have like burgers and beers and hot dogs and like, just food for everyone after the match to just sit and eat, or like on the showers and eat or baths or whatever. So all that food was there, and this is the first time it had happened, and then we'd just been beat. Everyone's raging. Neil Lennon's come in first, hat off, snooze out his mouth, thrown on the floor, screaming in his wee room. You're going to the first team. You've been in the home team dressing room, yeah? Yeah. You go in there and see there's a wee office in the back. It's like the manager's office. So you go in there and obviously kit room and that. He's in there screaming. The doors are closed, so that's never boys are sitting in the change room waiting on them coming out. He's in there screaming. We're all thinking, holy fuck, we're getting it here. Then you hear the door open. You're like, shit, sitting up straight. He just opens the door that's in between the home dressing room and the kit room, opens it and the food's sitting there, and he just runs, lifts it up, and just launches it. I think one of the hot dogs hit James Forrest in the face. He's sitting screaming at somebody, and Jamesy's got this ketchup and hot dog just running down his face. I always remember. I used to sit straight up. Used to go from that door straight up on the left hand side. Gary Hooper sat outside me, and then it was who was our one? Maybe Paddy McClure or something. I can't remember. And I remember just sitting there thinking, Gary Hooper, and I was going. And I think, oh my God, see, I burst out laughing. He'll kill me, like actually kill me. I'm just sitting there looking at the floor, thinking, do not look at him, do not look at him. I'll look up when he's finished talking. He goes mad, and that's when I see hot dogs hanging off James Forrest's face, ketchup. I was thinking, this guy is mad. Honestly, God. See, from then on, I used to live my life on that bench, right? But or like even if you were up in the stand as well, you used to have to come down. You used to want everyone down. So like a couple minutes before kick-off, you used to have to watch the last bit in the tunnel and then go into the change room. So I was always in there because I was either on the bench or in the stand. So every game we lost, see John Clark was the kit man. Every game we lost, John Clark, you see John Clark, a minute to go, sprinting, boys, come on, sprinting, moving all the food, removing the table and all. Because he's so mad. Craziest man alive.
Oh, man, you have me in absolute tears.
I swear he's so funny, I swear. Hilarious, man.
All right.
But Jamesy was his boy. Jamesy was his favourite. Jamesy is his wee boy. So he would have probably went over and like wiped off his face now and been like, oh, James, I'm sorry. But that was his boy.
Oh my God. See before we move on to your first team debut, just talking about people within the squad, what type of characters were in that squad? Was there any pranksters? I know Mulgrew has a reputation. Do you have any stories about them?
We had massive. Scott Brown's the worst. People don't give it. Scott Brown run, like, listen, when I was there, Scott Brown run the whole club. Like everything. But I say it run, not in a bad way, like the best way possible. The manager was the manager. Scott Brown run the changing room. Anything that goes on, finds everything. What happens off the pitch happens on. He runs everything. He keeps everyone in order. New players coming in, he lets them know what Celtic's about, blah blah. He runs the whole club. He's one of the nicest people ever met. An absolute maniac on the pitch, and see that whole focus thing you see in the tunnel. But see before he steps foot out that changing room, he's pranking. He's teabagging people. He's doing something in the home changing room before he goes to the match. He's just a prankster, completely prankster the whole time. But him and Charlie together were unbelievable. Paddy McCourt as well. Paddy was a silent assassin. Charlie Mulgrew and Paddy McCourt are really close, obviously. And they two used to go all sorts. But when I was there was massive characters. Like, we had... I got really close with Joe Ledley, so I did, and Adam Matthews, and those two were massive characters. Fraser Foster, he was another massive one. We had massive. I'm trying to think. Everyone, I think, predominantly the whole team. We had Fraser Foster, Adam Matthews, Mika Lustig as well, huge character, massive prankster. As I say, there was probably everyone was up to something. I remember one day at Lennoxtown, obviously up in the top of the house or whatever. I can't remember whose car it was. But somebody just got a new car. I want to say Scott Brown, and I think Charlie or somebody was injured. I know it involved Scott Brown and Charlie, and somebody else drove with Charlie. So Charlie drove say it was Scott Brown. I can't remember the exact person it was, but say it was Scott Brown's car. I think it was Brownie's car anyway. So Charlie jumped in Brownie's car. Somebody followed Charlie. You've been to Lennoxtown, have you? So there's like one big the training complex is on one big hill, mountain kinda. So there's another hill. Just over, just the other side. So Charlie's injured and this other person's injured who's followed. I don't know who it is. So training's went on. So they've straight out car. Charlie's jumped in Brownie's car, driving away. They went and placed his car on the other mountain, on the other hill. I don't know what it's about 35 minutes away. Went and drove the car, left it on the other hill, and then the person who followed him, Charlie jumped back in his car and drove back and just left it. Put his keys and all back in his pocket, just left the car on the other hill, just in a wee car park, just abandoned the car. Just went home as casual as if none's happened. Boys come back in, right? Brownie's probably just left. I couldn't even tell you what happened, how he got his car in. In fact, maybe the car's just still there. Do you know what I mean? It's madness. It's honestly God. The Mo Bangura one as well. So Mo Bangura came in and he had this wee tiny A1 at the time. It was embarrassing. He had this wee A1, but he tried to like soup it up. Tried to put like all these orange, like see these speed speed things on the side and all.
Yeah.
So again, I think it was Charlie or maybe Mika, Lustig. They took it and drove it like just outside where you go and just put all these wee sticky notes, put all these sticky notes all over it, covered the whole car in sticky notes, wheels, alloys, everything, window wipers, the lot get covered. And see, the thing is, Mo Bangura walked past it and all, went out. All the boys were watching it, I always remember. Just went out, walked past the car as if it wasn't his. He's like, boys, where's my car? Walked past the car. didn't recognise it. all different colours of sticky notes and all on it. Crazy, honestly.
I don't know what's funnier, your attempt at Mo Bangura's accent.
I think he's like Nigerian as well, and I spoke in like a English accent from Bradford. Don't know what was going on. But honestly, there's so many. There's some obviously I just can't tell you, but there's so many. There's so many pranks. The day, obviously, remember the whole thing came out when Neil Lennon meant to have battered Chris Commons. Chris Commons, obviously, every Friday we used to have like all the media were allowed in. So we used to walk in, and there must have been about, I'm not even exaggerating, about 100 or maybe 50 to 100 media people just standing in the middle. Used to, when you're warming up and that, take pictures of blah blah blah. So we were all standing out in the pitch, and the gaffers, Neil Lennon shouted, "Boys, so where's Puff?" Craig Commons, his nickname's called Puff because he used to love puff pastry when he was younger. So I was like, "Where's Puff?" And obviously a few boys know what's going on, probably Charlie and Brownie. He's like, "Oh, he's fine, he's coming." So everyone's shouting, "Fine, waiting on him." And he walks out, and he's got all this neck brace on, and like he's got somebody to paint like a bruise on his eye and all. So he does all this stuff because the media's out there. He comes out as if Neil Lennon's battered him, because it was out the day before that Neil Lennon meant to have battered him on the Thursday in training. So he came out on the Friday with all this neck brace on and painted his face like bruises and all. It's hilarious, man. There's loads. When you asked, there was so many. What characters? There was loads, honestly, so many. Anthony Stokes, big character as well. There was millions. Effie Ambrose, there was loads of them, and obviously Big Van Dijkman as well. So he was a big character as well. So
yeah, I mean, you can spend all day talking about the stories and stuff, and unfortunately, we don't have all the time in the world to do that. But just obviously, fast forward to when you were making your debut against Ross County. Did you know beforehand the week leading up to that? Did you know you were in line for a start?
Well, the thing is, that was just before. If I'm right in saying that was just before the Barcelona game. So I kinda had I was doing really well, done really well that pre-season. And the whole situation was I always wanted to just play first team football. Like I was just always like, I got to that point, and listen, the midfielders that I remember looking to come back for pre-season. We went to Austria and I done really, really well. And played the games and what came back, and I was like, I just want more of that. And we played first team over there, and I was doing really well. The boys were encouraging me, and they just kept saying to me, keep working hard, you'll get your opportunity, or blah, blah, blah. If you need to go on loan, let me know. The boys are saying to me, if you need to go on loan for 6 months to get games and know what it's like and come back and play, we'll help you. We'll get clubs, good players, know people. And I was like, yeah. So that was starting to get in my head. And I went to Neil Lennon, and I said, listen, we midfielders was Scott Brown, Joe Ledley, Victor Wanyama, Beram Kayal, Dylan McGee was around the first team then. It was in the first team then as well. You had Callum O'Grew played centre mid. There was loads. There was packed. It was the strongest bit of our team. Do you know what I mean? Packed.
Yeah.
And they're all internationals as well. So I was like, I've got no chance here. So I went to Neil Lennon maybe a month or so before, and I was like, Gaffer, I remember going in. It's the first time I knocked on his door as well to get in the office. I was shaking going in, and he's just like, sit down and relax. What are you shaking for? Sweating and all. Probably smelled the BO off me across the table. I was sweating. And he was like, relax. And I was like, listen, I want to play here now, yes, but at the same time, like, I want to be a footballer. Like, I don't want to just be like, get to a certain point and just fall off and never play football again. Do you know what I mean? So I was like, I think, do I need to go on loan? Like, I know I'm not good enough to get to that where they are now and play. And he's like, who said you're not good enough? Did I say you're not good enough? And I was like, no. And he's like, you're in and around my first team. You will not be going on loan this whole year, not January. So if it's your agent that's telling you, then tell him to come and speak to me. So then from then on, as I say, it was being a wee bit harder on me. And Neil Lennon had that, like, see if he was hard on you, he kind of cared. Do you know what I mean? See if he wasn't hard on you, or wasn't even talking to you, or if you gave the ball away, he wasn't saying anything or whatever, you'd be like, he doesn't care about me or something. Do you know what I mean? He's one of those managers. So he was kind of being hard on me. Not always in front of people. Sometimes on my own, he'd be like, you need to do this better. You can't do that. You need to do this. Do you know what I mean? So I kind of knew that he was taking a wee bit more interest in me. So it came that week. No, I didn't know. Obviously, we used to go. I think it wasn't. I think I'd only maybe been in like maybe I don't know if it was a week. I think it was a week after the Barcelona game. In fact, I think I'd only maybe been in like 5 or 6, maybe 7 squads before. So I was just still getting used to this whole going away in the hotel Friday night, because we used to we used to train on Friday, and then the bus used to come to Lennox and used to leave their cars. Some people will leave their cars at the hotel Dakota, and I lived 2 minutes from Dakota, and I was still getting this whole fact of like going away and staying with like Scott Brown and stuff. Do you know what I mean? And like in a hotel room and having dinner with him, sitting at a table and having dinner and having a laugh. Like I was still struck at that point. I was still really quiet, but still like starstruck kinda. So I was getting used to all that, and then obviously I think we were maybe 4-0 up or something, and then we had one sub left, and I remember just thinking like we were 4-0 up, so I was like, all right, even if we're going to make a mistake, who cares? And it was like 25, 30 minutes to go, and I just got up, and obviously 3 subs a minute got every time. We were 4-0 up or 3-0, 4-0 up, I think, yeah. And I just got up and run down the touchline myself and started running about. And I remember Neil Lennon looking at me going past as if, the fuck's this wee guy doing? I just run down the touchline. It was 60,000, we're winning 4-0, so all the fans are going mad singing, and I was like, even if I don't go on, I want to stand here and just listen to them all. You know what I mean? Because all my mates used to sit down where I used to warm up. So I was just standing, I was just warming up, and then next minute he just whistled. I was literally down there for 2 minutes, it felt like, and he just whistled and said, right, you're making your debut, get on. And I remember just like going to take my jacket off, and my hands were shaking, pulling down my zip. It's the only thing I can remember bits of it, obviously, but it's the only thing I can remember really to the like warm up or anything. My hands were shaking trying to pull down my zip, and then couldn't get my jacket off. And then it was whipped down. He's like, "Would you fucking hurry up?" And I was standing on a touchline, and I was standing on a touchline. I just went into another world, man. I was standing on a touchline for like 5 minutes, and he was saying stuff to me, and I still to this day do not know what he said. I was just staring at the fans, thinking, "This is unbelievable." I started like wee spots in my face, and I was a wee boy. Like, I was maybe 16, or I think I was 17 or something. I must have been 17, yeah. So I was like, "It's mental, honestly." Even though we were 4-0 up, I think we ended up winning. I think it was that game ended we were 4-0 up. I went on. I should have scored as well when I went on. Like, missed a chance.
Is that feeling like the best feeling in the world? Making that just get on for Celtic Football Club? Like, is it something that's been like probably the best of your career, or is it just right up there? Like,
yeah, definitely, yeah. Listen, I mean, as I say, I don't want to go back to like Coatbridge or whatever, but you obviously know it because you've got family from there. But when you're from Coatbridge, people say you bleed. If you cut me open, you bleed green. Do you know what I mean? And that's just the way it is. Like, never now. Whether you play 1 minute for Celtic from Coatbridge or where you play 100 games, like you're a legend there. Even now, when I go home, like you go to certain places and stuff, and you just even now when I go to a restaurant in Coatbridge, sometimes it just doesn't play if it's certain restaurants. You know what I mean? It's unbelievable. So as I said at the start of the show, I'd have given you my left and right arm for me to go and play at Celtic Park in an actual official match. You know what I mean? So yeah, it was probably the biggest thing. And as I say at the start as well, it was knowing that everything my family done for me, whether it was my dad or my gran or even my mum to a certain degree as well, that everything they've done actually they got something back. Do you know what I mean? So it was special, yeah.
so see after you made your debut and stuff, what sort of happened after that? Did you stay around the first team? Because you didn't really make another appearance for quite a while, didn't you? What was the reason behind that?
Because I played that was on a Saturday.
Yeah.
And then for people that don't know, we were in on a Sunday. I think we had a game midweek. But I think we had a game midweek in the Champions League, or maybe it was midweek in the SPL, whatever. We had a game, so in the Sunday, all the boys that started didn't train, and all the subs, and then they put up some young boys as well, like people from my age group, used to come up and train. So you should just do like small blow, like wee boxes, and then games. So I think we were playing something. I think it was Tuesday or Thursday. So anyway, the first team boys started and all didn't train. So it was there's maybe like 10 or 12 boys. So it wasn't a big group. So we were playing wee games. This was on a Sunday the next day, and I just come from the highest high that I'd ever been at. And on a Sunday, the last wee mini game, I went to cross the ball and ruptured my ankle. Was out for 14 weeks. Yeah.
And that does set you back big time.
Yeah, it sent me back massive. Because as I say, when you get to that point, you get to the highest point, and then it was the first. Listen, I'd rolled my ankles and the positioning type of player on that you always get kicks in your ankles, whatever. But it's a proper first big injury that I got, and I was only 17. So from then on, I was like, and obviously, you're coming up from football. You start to think everything. You come up from football, that's all you think. People just tell you, like, people used to always say sticking at school. I never stuck in at school. I used to go to school twice a week, and see, even when I went to school twice a week in the last year, I knew I was leaving. Do you know what I mean? I knew I had that professional contract. So in those classes, I actually sit and twiddle my thumbs. I didn't care, and I've got no issue saying that. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's one of the only things that I wouldn't change because it's got to where I am. But at the same point, like, I'd never done an exam really in school. You know what I mean? I tell people, and I tell my girlfriend now here, I still never done a proper exam. I've done the mock exams and stuff. I've never done an exam. I wasn't at school. And it wasn't as if I dogged it. I just wasn't at school. Do you know what I mean? So I was always in football, and it's always something I was just like, stuff everything and everyone else, apart from my bubble of people in football. That was my whole focus. Do you know what I mean? And at that point, when you're out, I know it's only 14 weeks, you're only 17, but at that point, you're like, shit, what happens if I can't play football again? Like, all that goes through your head, and you're only a young boy, and you've just come from the highest point into the lowest. And then, as I say, all those midfielders, I eventually, at that time when I was making my debut and I was on the bench, like, boys like Beram Kaya and they weren't. I was on the bench ahead of them. Cal McGregor wasn't in the squad. You know what I mean? I was ahead of those players. So it was now the fact of, I need to go and fight this battle with my ankle first, and then I need to go and climb that mountain again of getting in front of player A, B, C, D. Do you know what I mean? And it was hard, and that for me, that's when I probably questioned myself a lot. Not even just that injury, but even when I came back, I questioned myself a lot. Like, am I really actually good enough to be here? And it's probably, looking back on it now, it's probably the hindsight of where I failed. I wasn't mentally strong enough to, like, I believe I wasn't mentally person to play for Celtic. And then it goes back to what Tommy Burns used to always tell me: it's easy to get there, but it's hard to stay there. And that's when you find out the best players. Do you know what I mean? I might have been a good player or whatever, but I wasn't strong enough mentally. Like, and I can openly and honestly admit that I wasn't. Football wise, was I good enough? Yes, I was good enough, but I wasn't mentally strong enough to cope with the demands and the pressure of being at such a big club. Because whether you're a Celtic fan or a Rangers fan, it's a huge club, and you have to be mentally strong enough to deal with that. And not even just games or off the pitch, training every day was the toughest thing ever. I still speak to boys who were older than me, and you get nervous going to training, and I used to get that as well. As I said, I was very, I was shy, I was very within myself, and I wasn't, as I say, I wasn't mentally strong enough to be a massive club like that. Football wise, yes, I still do believe I was good enough at the time to play loads of games and go on and do what people said what should have done. I should have went and played more games, yes, with the ability that I had, but at the end of the day, it's not just about your football ability, it's about mentality, character, and I wasn't mentally strong at that point to go and do what I should have done at the end of the day. But that's something that I look back on, and I say it's not something that I wouldn't say not regret, but it's not something I could change at that point. You know what I mean? It's not as if you could go out and work harder and train yourself to do that, because I've done everything I possibly could have. But at that time, I wasn't mentally strong enough, really, to be honest. And when I came back from from then on, that's when I done that. I came back, played, involved in one or two other games, and then obviously got my first start. I only really got, looking back on it now, if you look at it, I only really got 2 starts and played 22 games or something. I got 2 starts to say 22 games. As I said, I had a bit in your hand off it, but I should have got more. I've got 2 league winners medals. I've got that's it. Do you know what I mean? I should have got more, but at the end of the day, if you offered me that when I turned full time, I'd taken off you, and by the end of the day, I probably didn't get to where I wanted to get to. And yes, after I came back from that ankle injury, came back and then done my knee ligaments. That was when I got my first operation, and then that was all within the first year, and that's when I really started to doubt myself, as in, am I strong enough to come back from this? And then I came back, I done my MCL, got an operation on it, 8 weeks. Was out, came back, trained on the Thursday, went to sleep Thursday night, woke up Friday morning, my knee was as big as the moon when I woke up in the morning. So it was huge. And then I was out for another 6 weeks, so I was a complete wreck. And then, listen, that's not, but yes, I had some injuries in those at the end of the day, but as I say, I probably wasn't mentally strong enough to deal with a lot of things. It's probably why in the end, it wasn't in the end why I left. Obviously, I left with Ronnie, but it's why I didn't get to the level that I probably should have got to.
But see as well, touching back upon what you were saying, the appearances and the winners' medals that you have for Celtic, things are things people can't take away from you. You earned them. So you earned your time. You earned your time the first time, and it's after.
100%, yeah. Like I still think with him. Like people, even my girlfriend who's a Rangers fan, her family's a Rangers fan. She wings me up all the time about it. But listen, as I say, like I go back to everything I went through, my family went through. Like my dad's got my 2 winners' league medals. No one can take that. Do you know what I mean? I
Yeah,
only,
exactly.
only started 2 matches, yes. Played whatever off the bench, it doesn't matter. But it's more than a lot of people. It's more than, or if you'd offer that to anyone else, I'm sure as a Celtic fan, I'm sure they would bite your hand off for it, or tackle your
Yeah.
grannies, they would say for it. So it is what it is. Listen, went on. I've had a good career and I've fully enjoyed it, and I'm doing well just now as well. So the main thing for me was obviously staying fit after injuries, and I'm doing that just now. So
Yeah, I mean, you did mention there as well. You left under when Ronnie came in after Lenny left, and
yeah,
obviously in between them times you had them injuries and stuff. So on the road, obviously you're coming back to try and impress and trying to get back into the first team. When Ronnie came in, did you know straight away that he wasn't keen on you, or was it just he kind of ignored you and left you to the side?
it was a bit of both because it was weird because even when I came back and Lennon gave me the 2 starts and I was coming back again, I went in when I came back from that knee operation that I told you, and I came back and then it got blew up and then it came back again. I actually got myself in probably one of the best conditions I was in. I was fully focused, fully fit, and I'd filled myself out, and I was competing with the first team players. And at that time, I went to Lennon around, I think I want to say around February time, and say just near the end of January or February, because you can still go on loan then to teams in
Yeah,
Scotland. So I went to him and says, "Listen, I need to play games. Like, I'm not coming here and bullshitting you, or I need you to be honest with me. I need to play games because yes, I know I'm not going to play here right now, but I've just came back from these operations. I need to play. Like, it's not a case of, oh, you might do it. I need to play." And he's like, "I totally agree with you, but you're not going on loan." And this is when, remember, Celtic were like, I think they're like 9 points from winning the league around March time. So
yeah,
he's like, he sat me down and he gave me, but I remember going to his office and he brought out the calendar, and I think there was 8 games left, or 8 games left, and there were 3 wins away. And he's like, "We win these 3 games, I'll play you the next 5 games." And I was like, "No problem, right, I'm staying." And that was it. Walked out the office. I
yeah,
was like, "No problem." We went on a Saturday, lost. Went on a Tuesday, drew, and then we went and won the next game. So I went into him the next Saturday and he was right. So you drew and won 2, so you only really need another 5 points or something, or 6 points.
yeah,
He's like, went, lost the next Saturday, lost the following Saturday, went to Aberdeen, won at Aberdeen, and we won with like 2 games to go, and then he played me in the last game. And then I was like, madness. What's the chances of that happening? Like, we were flying all year, and then he shows me the whole calendar and says, right, win these next 3 games. And I actually think it was like lost to St Johnstone away from home at Park.
yeah,
Lost, I want to say, I can't remember. I think it would be Hibs or Hearts. I can't remember exactly who it was, but we won, and I was like, what is the chances? And then see, before the end of that season, I had a year and a half left in my contract, and Lennon came to me and said, right, we're going to give you a new deal. And I was like, right, no problem. He says, we know you've been through a lot, but we know you know how highly we rate you. And I was only 20 at this point still, and I was like, yeah, perfect. So we'd clammed out the whole contract, new 4.5 year contract, so it was like working like 5 years, blah, blah, blah. And Peter Lawwell went to the offices and everything, he's like, blah, 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 it's all done, no problem. So then it was all done. Lennon had left, I was in holiday in Dubai, I always remember it, holiday in Dubai. Left my phone upstairs. I was at the pool, went upstairs, got my phone, come back down. My phone was ringing like mad. I was in the pool, came out of the pool. I was like, what the hell? I've got missed calls from my agent and from people. But I answered it. Neil Lennon's left. And I was thinking, oh my God. First thing I'd done was phone my agent back and says, what's going on with the contract? He says, I'm waiting to hear back. So I straight away just phoned Peter Lawwell, brass neck, just went, Peter, what's going on? And he's like, listen, well, I mean, that's when he told me Ronnie Dyler. And he's like, Ronnie Dyler's made 2 things clear. Nobody leaves and nobody signed before he comes in. And I says, right, no problem. I ain't leaving. Right, where's my contract? And he's like, nobody signs nothing else. I can't do it. And blah, blah, blah. So I was like, oh my God. I've still got a year and a half left, but I'm thinking, that's 5 years, no problem. I'm chilled for 5 years. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, yes, you want to play football, but I'm thinking as well also, I'm fine
yeah,
for 5 years, no problem. Do you know what I mean? After my injuries, going through all that in my head, going down to an operation, theatre and stuff, I was thinking, oh my God, I could be done playing in 2 years. Nobody's going to take me when I've just had 2 operations. Do you know what I mean? So I was thinking,
yeah,
I was thinking the bigger picture again, thinking, no problem, that's fine. I'm all right for 5 years. If they want to get rid of me after a year, no problem. I've got 4 years left. So go back, first day of training. In the first team changing room, there used to be, when you go in the door on the left hand side, there used to be like a pin board or straight up on the bin board. They moved it to the left hand side, it was straight up. And it used to be the players who were training. So like, I even got to a stage where I wasn't even looking at the board. Do you know what I mean? But this one day, I was just like, I need to look at this board. Looked at the board, my name wasn't on it, so I went round into the reserve change room. My name wasn't on that. So I was like, what the hell? So the first team had all went out, and I was like, I can't go and walk out the first team, even though I've been training with them for every day for a year and a half. My name isn't on the board. So I walked into the reserve pitch, and Stevie Frail, John Kennedy had moved for the reserves to Ronnie Dyler. So I was even thinking in the summer, this is going to be perfect, mate. John Kennedy loves me. So, because I had a great relationship with him, still do, but I was like, this is going to be perfect. It's going to give me more of a chance. Because he would say to me as well, Ronnie Dyler, he said that when he signed, he wants to bring in youth and stuff. So I think this is perfect thing. And then, so I walked down to reserves, Stevie Frail's manager said, John, what are you doing? I was like, my name's not on the board. And he's like, okay, I'll phone over. And I'm like, nah, he's not training with us. From then on, I was like, nah, this is it. I need to get out of here. That was the first day. From then on, I knew. And I went to what my agent at the time, I was like, told him, and he's like, what? But maybe it's just blah, blah, maybe it's just whatever. There was no young boys really with the first team. So I think, oh, maybe give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he's just, I don't know, whatever. Do you know what I mean? A week goes past, 2 weeks goes past. I ain't even trained with the first team. I walk past him. He doesn't even say hiya. He doesn't even say my name, nothing. And then he calls over 2 young boys. Obviously, Liam Henderson goes over and does really well for him. He goes over, and I can't remember who the other one goes over. Maybe Stuart Finlay or something goes over from reserves. I'm still with the reserves, and I'm thinking, I say to the reserve manager, what is going on here? And he says, listen, I've been to him most days saying, you're in good shape, why is he not finding me? And he's just like, no, not interested. Him, John Collins, not interested. He's like, John Kennedy's pushing your boat, saying like, you're one of the best you're the best young boy here, blah blah blah. Wasn't interested whatsoever. From then on, I went through that whole cycle, 6 months till January. Then ended off to sign to Bolton. Then phoned my agent and said, listen, tell him to come to Bolton. Came in January. And I said to him, I was out on the summer. Went to my agent went to Celtic, said he's not leaving though, and then went to Peter Lawwell, and I was like to Peter, like I had a good relationship with Peter, because when you come through the youth ranks, he really takes things in the young boys, and I was like, listen, I just want to leave. And I was like, I don't want to pay up, don't want anything from what's left in my contract, a year and a half. I just need to leave. I need to go and play football. I'm 21 now. I've sat for the last 6, 8, 10 months doing nothing, not even training with the first team. Like I'm training with boys who are like 19, 20 my age, but I've performed at a higher level for the last 2 years with the first team, 3 years. He's like, totally understand, I'll see what I can do. He says, no, you're not leaving. So I waited to the summer. Went down to Bolton with my agent, and they just signed the boy Philip Twarzik as well, who I was really close to. You remember boy Philip Twarzik?
Yes, I remember him.
Very good player. So they just signed him, so I went down to Bolton. Neil Lennon was like, listen, they were in the championship. He's like, you're going to come in the first team, you're going to be first team player, obviously, sign first team contract, whatever. But obviously, you're not going to walk straight into the team, you need to prove to yourself, but also, there's good players here. He said, so you might need to bide your time, whatever. And I just said, listen, if you're honest with me and you give me the best chance like everyone else, no problem, you know what I'm like. I work hard. He said, perfect. So Bolton have a hotel in the stadium. So I was staying there, and then obviously my agent was staying there as well. So then I got a chap on the door, like just after dinner time. Had dinner, went back. That was the dinner chat with Neil Lennon and my agent and stuff. And had dinner, went back to the room, got a chat maybe like an hour later. My agent saying, listen, Blackpool's just phoned. Blackpool just been relegated for the Championship in League One. They want to build a team around you. They've obviously they're going to have a massive influx of players because all their players have just got rid of the boy Jamie O'Hara and all, and cleared everybody. And they want to build a new team, and they want you to be like their midfielder and build a team around you. I just went, right, no problem, speak to Lennon. So I phoned me again, 5 minutes. I said, right, come down to the dinner hall. Went down, and Neil Lennon was there, and we just spoke. And Neil Lennon was like, at this point, I said I'd had a good relationship, and he's like, listen, I'm going to be honest with you, you're going to come here, you're going to be a squad player. You might play 5 games, you might play 15 games, you might start every game for me. I don't know. He says, but they've told you they want to build a team around you. And I was like, yeah, you're right. And I was like, I need to play football. And then that night, I just phoned Blackpool and said, right, no problem, I'll be over tomorrow. And I just slept that night in the hotel, obviously in Bolton, and then next morning, it's only like maybe 15, 20 minutes to Blackpool. They've got a hotel as well in their stadium, so I just went over there and signed the deal, and then that was me, I was there. That's how it all came about, yeah, it's mental.
That's a mental story, like especially the Ronnie Dyler side of things. But obviously, you touched upon there how you left and you end up with Blackpool. But since then as well, you've played for Dunfermline, Rafe, and then torn over here in Larne. And obviously, there's so much we want to talk about. But again, we'll have to fit it in and try and get off as well. But
long time, yeah.
See as well before we go and to leave you on your ultimate five-a-side team. At the moment, you're with Lauren, and how you doing this season anyway with Lauren?
Yeah, listen, we're doing really well. As I said earlier, we started off really well. Obviously, got to the top of the table and stuff, and we were competing and the same playing. One of the big things about Lauren is that they like to play the right way. Do you know what I mean? The way I've been brought up in the philosophy I've been brought up in is always trying to get the ball down. Don't get me wrong. Obviously, you have to go and win your individual battles at a certain point and play and fight dirty. Do you know what I mean? But at the end of the day, their whole biggest thing is getting the ball down and passing it, and that's exactly what you want to do here, and that's what got my attention. And at the end of the day, it's why I signed here. And we're doing really well, and obviously we've ticked off since January. But predominantly we've done really well this year, and we'll hopefully kick on, get Europe, and then kick on for next year, and hopefully go and challenge and win the league next year. So, but as I say, I love it here. I enjoy it here, and I've done really well here for the last year. It's been a year I've been here now. I've had opportunities to go back to Scotland and England, but as I said, I'm settled here. I love it here. My girlfriend in the house here, and as I said, I can't see myself leaving here anytime soon. So, as I said, I really enjoy it here, and it's easy, and the life's easy as well. So it's perfect.
Everything's looking up for you at the minute. Club football, personal life. I mean, couldn't be any better. I mean, you're playing well in the Irish League as well, like.
Yeah, not perfect as you say. Everything's looking well, and I'm staying healthy. And as I said, I've also after I left Celtic, I had another 2 or 3 operations, and that was the biggest thing throughout my career before I came here. And it's at the end of the day, I'm not lying to you. It's the reason why I came here. First because I had some bad injuries, but I stayed predominantly clear injuries, and it's been the main reason. As I say, I'm happy off the pitch at the end of the day, so I'm happy on the pitch as well. So there's no reason to change that. So
yeah. Well, before we end today's show, I gave you the challenge like I did with Patrick McNally. I was trying to come up with an ultimate five-a-side team that you've played with. Have you managed to scramble the names together?
I've not, but I'll just do it off the cuff. Do I need to play a goalkeeper?
No, you don't need to play a goalkeeper. You can do fly nets.
So it's 5 players. I don't need to include myself, do I? Or did Paddy include himself?
No, he was on the bench.
Oh, was he? I'll be the manager. In fact, I probably won't even need to be the manager. Jesus, right. I'll put obviously the big Dutchman in at the back. I'll play no goalkeeper. Big Dutchman can play centre back and goals if needs be. He'll fill the goals. Van Dijk. Listen, I don't really think I need to explain what he's good at.
Definitely not.
I don't think he's really bad at anything, as I say, so he can probably cover in goals. So he's unbelievable. From the day one when he came in, you could see it straight away. Big 6 foot whatever it is. Big good looking guy. Straight up hitting free kicks at 40 yards, sticking in the top corner. We were all thinking, oh my God, who is this guy? And it was no qualms. He wasn't there very long. And people say to me all the time, yeah, he couldn't have been that good when he was at Celtic. He was that good. He could have left Celtic and went straight to Liverpool. He was that good. Yeah. But obviously people have the whole persona about Scottish football, but it's a lot harder than what people think. So I'll play him. Got to put Scott Brown in, put him with the armband as well. As I said, he's an animal on the pitch, but one of the biggest pranksters and jokesters, and as I say, one of the nicest people you'll ever meet as well. I'll put him in there as well. So I'm trying to think who else. There's loads. As much as he was a moaner, technically he's probably one of the best players I've played with, and it's Chris Commons. Puff. Maybe he's overweight, yes, but I'll put him in there as well. But as I said, technically left foot, right foot, score for anywhere. That year when we were and I was predominantly the first team, some of the goals he scored, and I think he was actually the top goal scorer as well. So put him in there as well. So that's 3. And probably for me, one of the best strikers I've ever played with, Gary Hooper. He's in there.
Oops, yeah.
He can score for anywhere, as I said, create something out of nothing. Put him in there, and then listen, there's so many players I don't even know. But in fact, there's unbelievable. Listen, there's going to be some unbelievable players left out, but I'll put somebody for your area, Northern Irishman, Paddy McCourtin. The guy is an absolute genius. On the ball, technically, as I'll tell you a story before we go, he's in my team, right? So he's the 5th person. We used to play this game, half the pitch a game, and it was see the wee mini goals. Have you seen them? Wee mini goals. So a team used to defend the 3 mini goals, and a team used to attack the 3 mini goals. And I'm saying this, we played it in the whole half of the pitch. Paddy McCourt, obviously, is the laziest man ever, right? Couldn't run. There was something wrong with him. I don't know what it was, but he couldn't run. If he started, he couldn't last past 50 minutes. That's why he didn't play so many games at Celtic. But one of the best players you'll ever see, honestly, unbelievable.
Yeah.
He used to stand in the middle goal because see if he scored a goal, went to the wee goals, he used to get it again. He used to give it to the team who just scored. He used to stand at the side of the mini goal. He used to pass the ball. He used to just get it out his feet and zing it 50 yards into the wee goals. And then see even before it hit the goal on the other side, he'd be like, "Yep." Like the gaffer would be feeding the goals in, the balls in. He'd be like, "Yep, give me the ball again." He's like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "It's in the net. Take a ball, zip it again, 50 yards." So Neil Lennon blows whistle and went, "Listen, Paddy's just standing here, just zinging balls into the goal. Whatever goal he wants, 50 yards, ping, into the goal." Neil Lennon went and put like cones halfway through the pitch. And he's like, "You can't score unless you're over their half pad." He's like, "Fuck this, I'm away in, man." Honestly, it was unbelievable. Unbelievable. One of the best players you'll ever see. So there's my five-a-side team.
He's a total enigma, as you said. He couldn't last the 90, but when he played, he was fantastic. And to go through your five-a-side team, Van Dijk, Scott Brown, Chris Commons, Gary Hooper, and Paddy McCourt. And John, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. We could have spoke for hours. There are so many stories, I'm sure you didn't get in, but we'll probably have you on in the future to talk about other things as well, hopefully.
Yeah, no problem, yeah.
Have you enjoyed your time with the End of Celts podcast?
Yeah, it's perfect, yeah. As I said, we'll come on our time when all this opens up and everything's over. And I'm sure we'll get a coffee or whatever it is and get a face-to-face. But no, it's been perfect. It's been a privilege, you said, so.
No worries, Pigman. Thanks again, and to everyone who's listening, stay well and keep safe. Hail, hail.